At the airport, I got a text from my sister. "We canceled your flight. It was just a joke." My parents laughed. "You're always overreacting." So I watched their plane take off without me. That night, I cut off every transfer, canceled their travel cards, and blocked them before they landed. My name is Stephen. I am 36 years old. For most of my adult life, I have been the person my family calls when things go wrong. When rent is short, when a car breaks down, when a vacation needs funding, I am the one who wires the money. I do not complain. I do not ask for gratitude. I simply transfer the amount and return to my quiet life, believing that this is what family means. My sister Emma is 4 years younger than me. She has always been the bright star in our family constellation. When she laughs, my parents smile. When she asks for something, they find a way to give it to her. When I was 17, I saved money from my summer job to buy a laptop for college. 3 weeks before I left for school, my father took that money and bought Emma a car. He told me I could use the family computer in the living room. He said I did not need my own. I never argued. I simply worked more hours and borrowed a laptop from the campus library for 2 years. My parents, Linda and George, are retired now. They live comfortably because I pay the property tax on their house every year. I cover their car insurance. I send money for their medication. When they want to take a trip, I am the one who books the flights and hotels, then quietly removes my name from the reservation. They never thank me. They assume this is my role. I am the dependable one, the invisible wallet, the emergency fund they never acknowledge. For 15 years, this pattern has continued without interruption. I work as an accountant. I live alone in a modest apartment. I do not ask for much. I do not demand attention. I exist on the periphery of my own family, funding their happiness while they forget I am there. 3 months ago, Emma got engaged to a man named Marcus. My parents were thrilled. They called me at work to share the news, speaking so fast I could barely understand them. I congratulated them. I asked what I could do to help. My mother paused, then said they were planning a family vacation to celebrate, a week in the Bahamas. All expenses paid. She said it would be wonderful. She did not say who would be paying. She did not need to. I already knew. I booked the flights. I reserved the resort. I put everything on my credit cards. 5 people, 7 nights, flights, rooms, meals, activities. The total came to nearly $18,000. I did not flinch. I told myself this was an investment in family memories. I told myself they would appreciate it, even if they did not say so out loud. 2 days before the trip, Emma called me. She said she was so excited. She said Marcus was looking forward to meeting everyone in a relaxed setting. She thanked me for making it possible. For a moment, I felt seen. I felt valued. I told her it was my pleasure. I told her I was happy to help. She laughed and said I was the best brother anyone could ask for. Then she hung up. I sat in my apartment that night, staring at the booking confirmations on my laptop screen, and I felt something close to contentment. I did not know that feeling would last less than 48 hours. I arrived at the airport 2 hours early, just as I always do. I stood in the check-in line with my carry-on bag and my boarding pass printed neatly in my hand. The terminal was crowded. Families rushed past me with excited children. Couples held hands near the gate displays. I felt calm. I felt ready. I had worked extra hours the previous week to clear my schedule. I had packed carefully. I had even bought a new swimsuit. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a text from Emma. The preview showed only the first few words. I swiped to open it, expecting a message about meeting at the gate. Instead, I read something that made my chest tighten. "We canceled your flight. It was just a joke. You are always so serious. We thought it would be funny to see your reaction." I stared at the screen. I read the message 3 times. My hands started to shake. I looked up and scanned the terminal, searching for my family. I found them near the gate for the Bahamas flight, standing in a cluster. My mother was laughing. My father had his arm around Emma. Marcus stood beside them, grinning. They were all looking in my direction. Emma waved. I walked toward them slowly. My legs felt heavy. When I reached the group, my mother was still smiling. "Did you see the text?" she asked. Her voice was light, playful. I nodded. I could not find words. "It is just a joke, Stephen," my father said. He chuckled and shook his head. You are always overreacting. Relax a little. Emma leaned against Marcus and laughed. We did not really cancel it, obviously, but you should have seen your face when you read it. I looked down at my phone. I opened my airline app. I entered my confirmation number. The screen loaded slowly. When the result appeared, my stomach dropped. The booking was gone, canceled, refund pending. You actually canceled it, I said quietly. It was a joke, Emma repeated. She stopped laughing. Her tone shifted slightly, defensive now. We were going to rebook it, eventually. When? I asked. She shrugged. I do not know. Later. Stop being so dramatic. My mother sighed. Stephen, you always do this. You take everything so personally. It was meant to be funny. I looked at the four of them. They stared back at me with expressions that ranged from mild annoyance to boredom. None of them looked guilty. None of them looked sorry. I realized in that moment that they genuinely did not understand why I might be upset. To them, this was harmless. To them, I was the problem. I turned and looked at the departure board. The flight to Nassau was boarding in 20 minutes. I watched as they picked up their bags. My father clapped me on the shoulder. We will bring you back something nice, he said. Then he walked toward the gate. Emma followed. Marcus gave me an awkward nod. My mother lingered for a moment, as if waiting for me to say something. When I stayed silent, she shook her head and walked away. I stood there alone in the middle of the terminal, holding my printed boarding pass for a flight that no longer existed. Around me, travelers rushed past. Announcements echoed overhead. I watched my family disappear through the gate. I watched them board the plane I had paid for. I watched the jet bridge retract. I watched the plane push back from the gate, taxi slowly across the tarmac, and lift into the sky. I stood there until the plane was a small dot against the clouds. Then I turned and walked out of the terminal. My phone buzzed again. I did not check it. I drove home in silence. The highway stretched out in front of me, gray and endless. I did not turn on the radio. I did not call anyone. I simply drove, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. By the time I reached my apartment, the sun was setting. The sky was streaked with orange and purple. It looked beautiful. I did not care. Inside, I dropped my bag by the door and sat on the couch. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. I could hear the faint sound of traffic outside. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed several times. I ignored it. Eventually, I picked it up. There were messages from Emma, photos of the plane interior, a selfie of her and Marcus with champagne glasses, a shot of my parents smiling in their seats. The caption under the last photo read, "First class. Thanks for the upgrade, Stephen." I put the phone face down on the coffee table. I leaned back and closed my eyes. I tried to remember the last time my family had treated me with respect. I tried to remember the last time they had considered my feelings. I could not think of a single instance. When I was 14, I won a regional science fair. I stayed after school for weeks building a model of a water filtration system. I was so proud. I invited my parents to the awards ceremony. They said they would come. On the day of the event, they took Emma to her dance recital instead. They forgot about me entirely. When I came home that night with my second-place ribbon, my mother glanced at it and said, "That is nice, honey." Then she turned back to the television. My father never looked up from his newspaper. When I was 22, I got my first real job. I wanted to celebrate. I invited my family to dinner. I chose a nice restaurant. I made a reservation. When we arrived, my father complained about the prices. Emma ordered the most expensive item on the menu, then asked if I would cover her parking too. My mother spent the entire meal talking about Emma's new boyfriend. No one asked me about my job. No one congratulated me. I paid the bill in silence and drove home alone. For years, I convinced myself that this was normal. I told myself that family is complicated. I told myself that love does not always look the way you expect it to. But sitting there in my dark apartment, staring at photos of people who had just humiliated me for fun, I realized I had been lying to myself. They did not love me. They used me, and I had let them. I sat there until the room was completely dark. Then I stood up, walked to my desk, and opened my laptop. It was time to stop letting them. I pulled up my banking app first. The screen glowed in the darkness. I logged in and navigated to the list of authorized users on my accounts. There were 3 names beside my own: George, Linda, Emma. I stared at those names for a long moment. Then I clicked remove, one by one. The system asked me to confirm. I did not hesitate. Next, I opened the credit card portal. I had given my parents a card linked to my account years ago, back when my father's business was struggling. I had never asked for it back. The statement showed charges from the past week: groceries, gas, a dinner at a steakhouse. I clicked on the card management section and selected report lost or stolen. The system generated a new card number instantly. The old card would be declined within the hour. I did not feel guilty. Emma had a card too. She used it for emergencies, she said. The statement told a different story: spa visits, designer handbags, concert tickets. I reported that card stolen as well. Then I removed her as an authorized user entirely. I moved to the travel accounts next. My family had access to my airline miles, my hotel points, my rental car memberships. I changed every password. I deleted their profiles. I revoked every shared booking privilege. It took 40 minutes to work through the entire list. When I finished, I leaned back in my chair and exhaled slowly. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "We landed. This place is beautiful. The room is amazing. Thank you for everything." I did not reply. I opened my email instead. I drafted a message to my property management company, asking them to remove my parents from the authorized contact list for my mortgage. I sent a similar email to my insurance agent, requesting that their names be taken off my auto and health policies. I composed a message to my financial advisor, instructing him to close the joint investment account I shared with my father and transfer the balance into my name only. I sent all the emails. Then I opened my phone contacts. I scrolled to my father's name. I hesitated for only a second before blocking the number. I did the same for my mother, then Emma, then Marcus, just to be thorough. The apartment was still silent. I could hear my own breathing. I could feel my heartbeat slowing, steadying. For the first time in hours, I felt calm. I felt in control. I knew they would not notice immediately. They were on vacation. They were celebrating. They were enjoying my generosity, assuming it would last forever. But tomorrow, when they tried to charge breakfast to the room, the card would decline. When they tried to rent a car, the reservation would be gone. When they tried to call me for help, the call would not go through. I shut my laptop. I walked to the bedroom. I lay down and closed my eyes. I did not feel guilty. I did not feel conflicted. I felt nothing but clarity. I woke to the sound of my doorbell. I checked the time. It was barely 7 in the morning. I pulled on a shirt and walked to the front door, peering through the peephole. No one was there. I opened the door cautiously and found a small envelope on the mat. My name was written on the front in my mother's handwriting. I picked it up and stepped back inside. The envelope contained a single sheet of paper. The note was brief. "Stephen, we are having trouble with the cards. Please call us as soon as you can. The hotel is asking for another form of payment. Love, Mom." I crumpled the note and dropped it in the trash. I walked to the kitchen and made coffee. While it brewed, my phone buzzed on the counter. It was a text from an unknown number. I opened it. "This is Emma. I am using Marcus's phone. Why are the cards not working? We tried to get breakfast and everything was declined. What is going on?" I set the phone down without responding. The coffee finished brewing. I poured a cup and stood by the window, looking out at the city waking up below. The sun was just starting to rise, casting long shadows across the buildings. My phone buzzed again. Then again. I did not check it. By mid-morning, there were 7 missed calls from unknown numbers. My email inbox had 3 new messages, all from my family, all asking variations of the same question. What happened? Why are the accounts frozen? Please fix this. I deleted the emails. I blocked the unknown numbers. I finished my coffee and went for a walk. When I returned an hour later, there was a voicemail. I played it on speaker. It was my father. "Stephen, I do not know what is going on, but you need to call us back immediately. We are stranded here. The hotel is threatening to move us out of the room. Your mother is very upset. This is not funny. Call me. I saved the voicemail. Then I opened my laptop and checked my bank statements. Everything was in order. No unauthorized charges, no pending transactions from the Bahamas. I smiled slightly and closed the laptop. That afternoon, my doorbell rang again. This time, I checked the peephole and saw Marcus standing outside, looking uncomfortable. I opened the door halfway. "Stephen," he said, relief flooding his face. "Thank God. Emma has been trying to reach you. The cards are not working. We need you to fix it." "No," I said calmly. He blinked. "What?" "I said no. I am not fixing anything." Marcus shifted his weight. "Look, I do not know what is going on between you and your family, but this is not the time. We are in the middle of a trip. People are counting on you." "They were counting on me at the airport too," I said. "That did not seem to matter. That was just a joke." "It was not funny," Marcus sighed. "Okay, fine. It was a bad joke. But you are being unreasonable. Your parents are stuck. Emma is panicking. You are really going to leave them stranded over a prank?" I looked at him for a long moment. Then I stepped back and started to close the door. "Yes. Wait." He put his hand out, stopping the door. "Stephen, come on. Be reasonable." "I have been reasonable for 15 years, I said quietly. "I am done now." I closed the door. I heard him knock twice more, then give up. I heard his footsteps retreat down the hallway. I walked back to the living room and sat down. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Emma's number, borrowed again from Marcus. "You are ruining everything. I will never forgive you for this." I read the message twice. Then I replied with a single sentence. "You already ruined it. I am just finishing the job." I blocked the number. Then I turned off my phone entirely. The law office was located downtown, tucked between a dry cleaner and a dental clinic. I had found the attorney online, reading reviews late into the previous night. His name was Richard. He specialized in family law and financial disputes. His reviews mentioned words like thorough and aggressive. That sounded right to me. I arrived 10 minutes early and sat in the small waiting area. The receptionist offered me water. I declined. At exactly 2 o'clock, Richard opened his office door and gestured for me to come inside. He was older, maybe 60, with gray hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. He shook my hand and motioned to the chair across from his desk. "Tell me what brings you here," he said, settling into his seat. I spent the next 30 minutes explaining everything. The years of financial support, the airport humiliation, the canceled flight, the cards, the accounts, the joint holdings. I spoke calmly without emotion, laying out the facts like a report. Richard listened without interrupting. He took notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he set down his pen and leaned back. "How much money are we talking about?" "Over $200,000, I said. "Maybe more. I have not calculated the exact total." He whistled softly. "And you have records?" I pulled a folder from my bag and placed it on his desk. Inside were printed bank statements, credit card bills, receipts, and email confirmations. Years of documentation. I had spent the previous night organizing everything, highlighting the relevant transactions, attaching sticky notes with explanations. Richard flipped through the pages slowly. "This is solid," he said after a few minutes. "You have proof of every transfer, every payment, every expense. If you want to pursue repayment, you have a strong case." "I do not want repayment," I said. He looked up, surprised. "No? I want to make sure they cannot come after me for anything. I want to formalize the financial separation. I want legal documentation that I owe them nothing, and they have no claim to my assets." Richard nodded slowly. "We can do that. I will draft a cease and desist letter, followed by a formal notice of financial independence. If they try to dispute it, we will file in civil court. But I suspect once they see the documentation, they will not push back." "Good." He tapped the folder. "You also mentioned joint property. The house where your parents live? You said you have been paying the property tax." "For 12 years, I confirmed. "But the deed is in their name?" "Yes." "Then you have no legal claim to the property. However, you can stop paying the tax immediately. If they do not pick up the payments, the county will eventually place a lien. That is not your problem." I nodded. "I understand." Richard made a few more notes. Then he looked up at me. "Can I ask you something?" Go ahead. Why now? You have been supporting them for years. What changed? I thought about the question. I thought about standing in the airport, watching my family board the plane without me. I thought about the text message. I thought about 15 years of invisibility. They made it clear I do not matter, I said finally. So I decided to stop pretending I do. Richard studied me for a moment. Then he nodded. Fair enough. I will have the documents ready by Friday. In the meantime, do not respond to any contact from them. Do not engage. Let them wonder. I stood and shook his hand. Thank you. You are doing the right thing, he said, for what it is worth. I left the office and walked back to my car. The folder was lighter now, transferred into Richard's care. I felt lighter too. I drove home slowly, watching the city pass by outside my window. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was moving forward instead of standing still. On Friday morning, Richard sent me the completed documents via email. I printed them at home, reading through each page carefully. The language was formal and absolute. Cease and desist. Notice of financial separation. Revocation of informal agreements. The final page included a list of all accounts, cards, and services that had been terminated. It was thorough. It was final. I signed where indicated and scanned the documents back to Richard. He confirmed receipt and said he would send physical copies via certified mail to my parents' address. That afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered this time. Stephen? It was my mother. Her voice was strained. Finally, we have been trying to reach you for days. What is happening? The hotel kicked us out. We had to move to a cheaper place. Emma is furious. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. I received a letter from a lawyer, I said calmly. There was a pause. What are you talking about? You will receive one too. Read it carefully. Stephen, what have you done? I removed you from my accounts, all of them. I revoked your access to my credit cards, my airline miles, my hotel points, everything. I also stopped the automatic payment on your property tax. You will need to handle that yourselves from now on. She gasped. You cannot do that. We are your parents. I can, and I did. This is insane. You are overreacting. Again. No, I said. I am reacting appropriately. Finally. We will fight this. We will take you to court. Go ahead. My lawyer has all the documentation. Every dollar I have ever given you is recorded. Every card you have used is itemized. If you want to fight, I am ready. There was silence on the line. Then I heard my father's voice in the background, muffled but angry. My mother spoke again, her tone shifting from shock to desperation. Stephen, please. We are stuck here. We do not have enough money to get home. The return flights are gone. You canceled them. I canceled my flight, I corrected. Yours are still active. You just cannot afford the baggage fees or the seat upgrades anymore. Coach is still available. You are being cruel. I am being fair. What do you want from us? An apology? Fine. I am sorry. We are all sorry. Now fix this. It is not about an apology, I said quietly. It is about respect, and you have never given me that. I heard her start to cry. Part of me felt bad, a small, old part of me that still wanted to be the good son. But the rest of me, the part that had been ignored and used and humiliated, felt nothing but relief. Goodbye, Mom, I said. Then I ended the call. Over the next 2 days, the messages poured in. Voicemails from my father, angry and accusing. Texts from Emma, alternating between rage and pleading. An email from Marcus, polite but clearly uncomfortable, asking if there was any way to resolve this peacefully. I did not respond to any of them. I simply saved everything, forwarding the more aggressive messages to Richard as additional documentation. On Sunday evening, I received a call from the county assessor's office. They informed me that the property tax on my parents' house was overdue. They asked if I was still the payer of record. I told them no. They thanked me and hung up. I knew what that meant. In 60 days, if the bill remained unpaid, a lien would be placed on the property. My parents would either need to pay it themselves or risk foreclosure. I sat at my kitchen table that night, eating a simple dinner alone. My phone was silent. My email was clear. For the first time in years, I was not waiting for someone to ask me for money. I was not planning how to help. I was not calculating how much I could afford to give. I was simply existing, separate and whole. It felt strange. It felt unfamiliar, but it also felt right. I moved exactly 3 weeks after the airport incident. The new apartment was smaller but brighter, with large windows that let in the morning sun. It was located across town, far from my parents' neighborhood. I did not give them the address. I did not tell anyone where I had gone. I simply packed my belongings, hired movers, and disappeared from their orbit entirely. The legal letters had done their job. After the initial shock wore off, my family stopped contacting me. Richard sent me updates occasionally. My parents had hired their own lawyer, but after reviewing the documentation, the attorney advised them not to pursue action. There was no case. Everything I had done was legal. The financial separation was clean. Emma tried reaching out once more, using a friend's phone. She left a voicemail. Her tone was different this time, quieter, almost sad. She said she missed me. She said she did not understand why I was doing this. She said she hoped I would reconsider. I listened to the message twice, then deleted it. I did not call back. The property tax lien was filed as expected. My parents scrambled to pay it, borrowing money from relatives and taking out a small loan. They managed to clear the debt just before the foreclosure process began. I heard about it through a mutual acquaintance, someone who did not know the full story. They mentioned how stressful it had been for my parents. I nodded politely and changed the subject. Emma's wedding was postponed. I learned this through social media, scrolling past an update she posted about unforeseen financial difficulties. The comments were full of sympathy. I kept scrolling. I did not leave a message. I did not react. I simply noted it and moved on. My life became quieter. I worked. I came home. I cooked meals for one. I read books. I took long walks in the evenings. I started going to a coffee shop on weekends, sitting by the window and watching people pass by. Slowly, I began to feel like a person again, not just a function. One Saturday morning, I received a letter in the mail. It was from my mother. The envelope was simple, no return address. I opened it carefully and unfolded the single sheet of paper inside. The handwriting was shaky, as if written quickly. Stephen, I know you do not want to hear from us. I understand that, but I need you to know that I am sorry. Your father is sorry. Emma is sorry. We did not realize how much we had hurt you. We took you for granted. We treated you poorly. I do not expect you to forgive us. I just wanted you to know that we see it now. I hope you are well. Love, Mom. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it and placed it in a drawer. I did not respond. Maybe one day I would. Maybe I would not. For now, the silence was enough. I stood by the window of my new apartment, looking out at the city below. The sun was bright. The air was cool. I felt calm. I felt free. For the first time in my life, I was not waiting for someone to need me. I was simply being. And that, I realized, was exactly what I had needed all along.